Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
ArtPod is a South African-focused visual arts podcast hosted by Claude Chandler. Join me weekly every Saturday as I'm joined by a new guest who occupies a position within the visual arts community, ranging from fine arts, tattooing, framing, and logistics. Welcome to another episode of ArtPod. Today I'm being joined by the lovely and gracious Jennifer Reynolds. She is a gallerist and owner of State of the Art Gallery based in Cape Town. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Claude.
So before we get into the gallery and talk about State of the Art, can you give a bit of a background to yourself and how you came to the art world and into the art scene?
Yeah, it's quite a long story, actually. But I won't bore you with too many of the details. But I've always had a passion for art. In fact, I studied art at school many years ago. And I've always, as I say, had a passion for art and always followed art and enjoyed art exhibitions. But I had a long career in financial markets and technology. In fact, that has been the majority of my professional career. And in 2009, I was looking to do something new. I was going to be relocating to Cape Town. I wanted to take an opportunity to move away from my past career, but do something useful with the rest of my professional career. And so I had a look at what I could do, what my passions were, and of course art resurfaced. But then it was about, well, how can I do it differently, and how can I do it for the next generation of art buyers? And I had seen a programme while I was living in London on Dragon's Den, and it was about an online art gallery startup in the UK. And everyone scoffed at it and said, oh, no one's going to buy art online. But they proved them wrong. So having decided that was what I wanted to do in South Africa, because there were a couple of online galleries, but there wasn't anything very professional and there was nothing curated. And so I decided that I was going to do this, but really focus on the technology. And I'd also be very specific about the art market I was going to cover. I was going to have a niche offering and then create a suite of tools to make it very much a gallery experience, but in the online world. So aiming fairly and squarely at new collectors, millennial collectors who spend most of their time in the digital world rather than the analog world. And I moved to Cape Town in 2009 and launched State of the Art in its first version in 2010. And it's a bespoke, in-house built website. So nothing off the peg. It has been built from scratch. And it's been a very exciting journey.
No Wix.com.
No Wix.com. No, I'm fortunate to have, my daughter is an extraordinary web developer. And so she was able to build what I wanted.
And did you ever consider being a fine artist?
I think that would have been something I would have loved to have done, but circumstances at the time meant I needed to earn a living.
Yes.
And so I moved into financial markets and trading. But yes, given the opportunity, I would have loved to have done fine arts. Well, and this is my way of actually sort of moving into that space.
Oh, definitely. I think it's a perfect marriage between your past career and visual arts. You say in 2010 the gallery launched. Did it start off as a physical space or a website or both?
It started off absolutely as a website, an online gallery. And we were and still are South Africa's first truly e-commerce gallery. So somebody in Germany could look at an artwork, as they recently did, and buy online immediately using their credit card, and that includes all their shipping charges. So into our model, we've inbuilt all the shipping costs, crating costs. It was a huge project. absolutely huge project.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons I wanted you on the podcast, just in terms of your vision and kind of future vision of the gallery space. And I think in terms of an ambassador, you've done an amazing job. I mean, the state-of-the-art gallery is, it's definitely a standalone example of what an online gallery should be, and just in terms of form and function. Initially, when not having a physical space, you're saying it launched as a website. Yeah. In terms of recruiting artists, how did you navigate that?
That was so interesting, because moving back to South Africa in 2009, I didn't know anybody in Cape Town at all, never mind anyone from the art world. It was about building a network right from scratch, and having put together the concept and the idea for State of the Art, it was then a case of publicising on Facebook, going round to the universities and leaving flyers saying, we're building this website, this is what we're going to do, are you interested, contact me. And that's how it got going. And then after the first couple of years, we had good quality artists. We had a really, an offering that I was very proud of, and I could feel that we were on the right track to achieve the mission of creating this wonderful portal, accessible portal for quality art that anyone would be proud to buy. So we started off very much as an online, and we are still primarily an online gallery.
And then did the gallery come after, when there was a fair amount of success?
The physical space, well, I think anybody who is trying to run an online business knows it's quite lonely working from home, from a home office. You don't get to see anybody. You might speak to customers and you speak to artists, but it's quite a lonely business. So I think that, combined with the demand by artists for their work to be seen, I think it's very important to artists that their work is actually hanging on display, as well as in a physical space as well as in an online space. And so that prompted the move into opening a complementary physical space. And that was a whole new journey, a new direction, but it's very much complementary to the online.
And did you find that it kind of shifted the way you source artists or the work you were looking for? Yes,
very much so. I think it exposed me to a lot more art. It's very different seeing it in the flesh to seeing it online. However, I can also say that nobody's been ever disappointed in a purchase. We've never had a return in 10 years, which is extraordinary. Everybody's been absolutely thrilled with what they've bought. But being surrounded by art, I think the online gallery has given me, the freedom to host shows and to show work that's not necessarily commercial. And so it's given me a whole different direction as well. So I'm not reliant completely on the physical space to generate our income.
So I imagine then the gallery is almost secondary. And in terms of sales and viewership, you get more on the website. So does the gallery become more of an experimental space, and it kind of just gives a bit of contemporary weight to the website? Or
I think it does to a certain extent, although we're still reliant, obviously, on it being commercially viable. But it's the art market seems to be very seasonal. And so at the moment, this month has been fantastic for us because the website kicks in and we've sold work to America, to France, to Germany and to Dubai. So that's been really, really good, where we've had very few actual people in the gallery space. And I don't think that's just because we're in the District 6 side of Cape Town rather than the city centre. I think it's just that there is an economic downturn at the moment and everyone can feel that. But being online gives us global scope and allows us to show the work of our artists internationally and expose them to a much wider audience of art lovers.
And now also with the rise of, say, Artsy and, even the success in your model, you think there's still a resistance by galleries to kind of enter the online space?
No, I don't think it's so much a resistance. Well, certainly the top end has no need to. I think the online space operates effectively respectively in the affordable end, which is what we are. I mean, our artwork is generally between 1,000 and 50,000 rands. So we're very much the affordable end of the spectrum. And I think we'll be successful in that space. I think artists that are collectible is still going to be very much the traditional model gallery that has already got a network of collectors. They're not looking to establish a new collector base. And so there's this space for both, very much space for both.
No, and I mean, also testament to your online strategy. In the past year or two, you've kind of taken on a filmography element where you do a lot of interviews and short films on your artists that you represent. How important is it to kind of tap in all those social media platforms, especially YouTube and Facebook, which is very, film orientated?
It's very important because it's another way of reaching our customers. And not only that, I think it's all about accessibility, because that's really what the website is about. It's about accessibility and transparency. You can see what you get, you can see how much it costs, but then we also give a glimpse into an artist's practice. I think for somebody to be able to go onto the website, see an artist they like, research that artist, read their bio, read the interview, and then watch a film and see them at work and see what makes them tick and how they create their work, creates a whole different value and appreciation for that artist. And so I think the films are an absolute integral part of creating awareness and building that whole new audience of collectors.
For sure. I think there's definitely been, especially when you present yourself online, I think in terms of you have the artwork and the artist, and in a way they become one brand. And I mean, if you look at influencers and anyone basically on social media platforms, that's the strategy. And it's nice that you give kind of, both aspects to that. Upon my research I was doing online, I just came across online reviews, and I see you've navigated that quite well, and you respond to a lot of the reviews. I didn't find any one-star reviews. I don't know if you kind of knocked them out, but
you can't knock anything out, unfortunately. No. I mean, they're there. You have to deal with them.
And I mean, in terms of weight, do certain platforms carry more weight? I know like TripAdvisor, Facebook, Google.
Yeah, I think, just to mention about negative, I mean, the majority of reviews we've had have been positive.
Completely,
but there's always going to be somebody, and we take all reviews seriously. And if somebody leaves a negative review, then it gives us an opportunity to contact that person and say, why? What is it that we're not doing that you'd like to see more of? And give them a voice and say, okay, you're not doing this, or you're not doing that, or we'd like to see more of a different type of art. But I mean, you need to have that. As soon as you're online, and as soon as you focus on social media, you're going to leave yourself open to any kind of criticism. It can be positive and it can be negative, but all criticism is good, and it gives us an opportunity to engage with our customers and say, well, we're going to do better, we're going to try harder. So it's that social media side of things is very, very important. Did that answer that question?
Perfectly. Thank you very much. We sometimes joke that you could call state of the art state of Durban or Little Durban, because you do have a number of Durban artists. Is that kind of an untapped market, untapped source of artists, especially in Cape Town, where there's a kind of it's kind of a bit territorial when it comes to artists?
Yes, no, I found that myself. I mean, again, being online and being completely transparent has exposed us to cherry picking by other galleries on many occasions. But that's good. We can't expect any kind of exclusivity with artists unless you know that you can sell a lot of art and sustain their career. So it's great that by being so transparent, then artists get opportunities to show us elsewhere. But it does mean that you have a small pool of artists, and all the galleries want them. And I guess we started I think it was with Corné Eckstein, might have been the first artist from Durban that we brought on board.
Okay.
And the artist community is quite small and intimate, and everybody knows each other. And because we did well for Corné, then other artists became interested. So it was word of mouth. I think there are some amazing artists in Durban, but they don't have the outlets
Sure. No,
to sell the work and to sustain their career. So they need to look at other sources of where can they place their work.
No, definitely. I mean, I basically from Durban and came to Cape Town looking for work or just needed a more robust art industry. And I mean, amongst artists, I mean, everyone thinks you're just the greatest gallerist and you're just so polite and professional, and it's a pleasure working with you. And I mean, you were basically one of my first gallerists in Cape Town. And I mean, yeah, it's
before we even had a physical space, that's right.
And it's just, it's been amazing how that relationship's grown and how, growing with the gallery as well. And I will always, be grateful for that initial opportunity.
But I think it is, you relationships between a gallerist and the artist, it's very much a partnership. It's a team. It's symbiotic.
Yes.
I can do the best I can with state of the art, but without really good artists, then we wouldn't be anything. So we have to work hard together and both have the same goal. And treat, it's about treating the artist with integrity and respect, which they deserve.
Thank you.
But also, I mean, that is, we've always put I think that's one of the differences maybe with our model, is that we put the artist first, which is why we do so much social media, why we do the films. We make sure that the artist earns, the majority of the proceeds from a sale. It's about making sure that we can make it as sustainable as possible and give as many opportunities to the artist as possible.
And I mean, talking about accessibility, in terms of artists wanting to exhibit the space, I know my wife, when she worked for a gallery for a year, she said there is that moment of getting piled on with CVs and kind of unprofessional attempts to make a proposal. Is there any advice you would give to artists as to how to approach a gallery? Or
I would yes. I would agree with that. I think an artist should research the galleries and look to see where their work fits. Don't just approach any gallery willy-nilly. I think look at what you're doing, look at what your statement is, look at where you position yourself, and then find a gallery that matches that criteria. If you're making wildlife artworks, don't approach a gallery that's very contemporary. Look for galleries that are close to the game reserves, where they're likely to have a market. So that is usually the case, as we get inundated with people who want to sell their art through you, but there's no synergy between what they do and what we do. So really research galleries well before approaching them.
And you think it's best to approach online, just like via email, or coming in, presenting a physical?
I think it's always, again, you can be busy. Some artists, not all artists, but some artists do tend to come into the gallery, and it doesn't matter if you're busy, and then they want to show you their work on their phone. And yes, it's difficult. I mean, I take my hat off to any artist who has the gumption to walk in and say, I want to show you my art. Good on them.
Sure.
But there needs to be a way of doing it. Just phone up first and say, can I come in and show you my work? And we'll never say no.
Yes.
Always be very happy. We're always keen to see new work. And then we also, we have a very clear process on the website. Because we're an online gallery, you can go onto our website, click on the join button. It tells you all the information there, and then apply.
And last year you launched the State of the Art Awards.
That's right, yes.
And this is your second year running.
Yes.
And currently you are having entries, I guess, coming in. In terms of the art competition, what do you think that does for the State of the Art brand? And is it also been useful in terms of sourcing artists? Because I know it's for artists who aren't on the State of the Art roster. Could you just elaborate?
Yeah. So we launched State of the Art Gallery Award last year, and it's really part of developing our online platform in a way, because we'd built this amazing platform, and it was, well, what can we do with it next, and how can we do something that's meaningful and impactful? And there aren't really any competitions awards that are open to anybody, and without an age limit. Often, there are some amazing awards, but there are age limits and there are very strict criteria. And there are so many creative artists in this country, and thought it would be great to build an award and to make it accessible. And so we created it in such a way, we developed it so that application to the award could be done using a mobile phone. And I believe it's the first time this has been done, certainly in South Africa. So you can do everything using a mobile phone. So if you have access to data, you could be in Limpopo, wherever it is. You don't need to have a laptop or a desktop. You can apply to the award, send in your submission. And the idea is to give something back. So we've had this really exciting journey. And it's about, well, what do we do with that? How can we then make it more meaningful and make an impact for everybody in South Africa? And so that is how the award was born. But it was very interesting, I must admit. Last year we got so many entries. But artists have this habit of leaving it until the last minute.
Yes, is the infrastructure there to hold it, or is there a bit of a crash?
It crashed. Last year it crashed. In fact, and I made the mistake of having the entries close at midnight on a Sunday. And so I had to stay up until after midnight. So this year we closed on the 30th of June, and we did it at lunchtime. Okay. And we didn't crash. We did quite a few enhancements this year. But yes, the whole idea of the award is to give somebody an undiscovered. You might have participated in group shows, or you might be studying at university, or you might just be a self-taught artist who's really good, and you haven't had an opportunity because there aren't galleries everywhere and there are a limited amount of wall space. So this is about giving somebody an opportunity. And it's been a very rewarding journey. And yes, of course it is. It's a fantastic way to spot new talent and bring in new talent.
And I think as an art competition, in terms of longevity for the artist, it's amazing. There is the cash prize, yes, which is cherry on top. But I think thereafter, now you are represented, you have a gallery to exhibit with. And so in terms of longevity, it just seems very, practical.
Yes, and that is it. You're going to get, not only do you benefit from the cash award and the solo exhibition, and then you get a lot of press coverage from the solo exhibition, which Jo Roots did last year.
Yes.
And she's had so many opportunities open up for her elsewhere since that, which was always the aim. So it's not just about us nurturing the artists, but it's about them then raising their profile and creating opportunities for them elsewhere.
For sure, and I guess it all comes full circle.
It does.
Their growth is your growth.
Absolutely, yes.
There is State of the Art Australia.
Yeah.
Now, is that kind of, I wouldn't call it a franchise, or how, what's the connection?
It's our sister site. As I mentioned earlier, my daughter's very heavily involved in building our platform. And it's the same platform. She moved to Australia with her husband a number of years ago. And we use the same platform to launch State of the Art in Australia. Australians are very patriotic, so it's heavily weighted in favour of Australian artists, but there's a large contingency, a large community of South Africans that are living in Australia now that want a little bit of home. And so the artwork that we have on our website here in South Africa that can be removed from the stretcher, rolled, is automatically shown on our website in Australia to expose it to that audience over there and to build on that brand. And it's doing well.
So there's a bit of cross-pollination.
There is, absolutely, yes. It's not a franchise, it's our sister site, and it just benefits the artist.
And in terms of physical shows, has there ever been an idea of sending back and forth, doing a kind of...
It's something that we're mooting. So it's something that could potentially happen at a future date. At the moment, the Australian site is that. It's just purely online.
Okay.
And there are more buyers in Australia than you get over here too. People are more used to buying online in Australia. It's not such a hard slog.
Great. And the show will be airing in September. Is there any shows or upcoming events that you'd like to discuss?
Well, we were just talking about the awards. So the finalists, this year's finalists exhibition will be happening in the first half of September. In October, we've got Joanne Reen, a solo exhibition for Port Elizabeth artist Joanne Reen. Her work is absolutely stunning, very much inspired by Claude Monet, Impressionism, but of the South African landscape and around her area. So very, very beautiful work. And then a highly anticipated exhibition by Grace Kotzett, Durban artist, in November,
Grace, yeah.
which everyone is looking forward to. And I know will be a real treat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with me. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, any chance I get to talk about State of the Art.
Yeah, you can catch State of the Art online at stateoftheart-gallery.com.
Perfect. And on YouTube. And
Subscribe.
all the social media. Yes, like us on Instagram.
Smash that like button and subscribe. Okay, thanks so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Cool. ArtPod is a South African-focused visual arts podcast hosted by Claude Chandler and produced by the generous assistance of Blended Podcasts, brought to you by Blended Audio.